Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chair of the Rochford District Council, Councillor Joe McPherson, the Vice Chair of the Council, Councillor Simon Wotton, the Deputy Chief Executive Paul Birkinshaw and the Reverend Kim Lepley.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I draw everyone's attention to the page 3 within the agenda, which sets out details regarding fire safety instructions, the webcasting arrangements, and asks people to turn their mobile phones to silent. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in the Market car park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please do not return to the building unless given permission by council staff. Thank you.
Members, please stand for the Reverend Kim Lepley if you're able to. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. It is a joy and a pleasure to be here with you again this evening. I just want to briefly mention the service that took place on Friday. Thank you for those of you who were able to come along to pay remembrance to those who sadly died in the airport crash. I didn't mention in that service all those hard-working souls behind the scenes, those PAs, and all those folks who keep the cogs of the council wheels turning, who work so incredibly hard in just 2 days to pull all of that together. So I would like it minuted, if possible, my thanks to all of those members of staff who were able to do that. As I said, it's my privilege to open your time together in prayer. So let us pray. Almighty God, we bring before you the agenda for tonight's meeting, that we who have been entrusted with the responsibility to govern and make decisions for those who have elected us, that we be guided by the best of motives and with the interests of all, for the benefit of all. Give clear minds, Lord, and the desire to hear all points of view, including those who may be opposed to our own, and an openness of respectful debate. Make us gracious and courteous to friend and opponent alike, with a real sense of working together for the district and the areas that are represented by each of our district councillors. At the same time, Lord, we thank you for the blessing of the work of all the employers of Rochford District Council, who maintain, implement and make possible the words that are debated, discussed and formed into policy. Amen. I'm going to pray the Lord's Prayer, and if you know the words and would like to join in, then please feel free to do so. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. So may God enfold you in love, fill you with peace, and lead you in hope. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, be with you and all whom you love, this night and forevermore. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Lepley. If everybody could please sit down. Thank you. Members, please note that agenda item 11, the Treasury Annual Report, will be deferred until the extraordinary council meeting that is scheduled to be held on the 16th of September. The Council Section 151 officer is unable to attend the meeting this evening due to other work commitments, and it is felt that it would be beneficial to consider this matter when he is in attendance. Thank you. Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I'd like to make a point of order under Council Procedural 15.1. At full council meeting in February 2025, members were advised specifically in section 6.7 of the approved MTFS strategy that a revised capital strategy which aligned with asset strategy and reviewed reserves would be brought back to full council for formal approval no later than July 2025. That commitment was quite clear. Tonight's agenda includes no such item. I don't think this is a minor oversight. The capital strategy underpins major investment decisions and the responsible use of reserves. Its absence does raise concern with us about compliance with the resolution made by this council. Under Rule 15.1, I therefore respectfully request clarification as to why the agenda item is missing, when members can now expect to receive the revised capital strategy, and whether this delay risks impacting project delivery, investment decisions, or audit compliance. In the interest of transparency and effective governance, I ask that a formal statement addressing this matter be provided before the close of the meeting, please, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Just before I pass to the officer to respond, there was a briefing meeting yesterday for all leaders. This has only just obviously been brought to the officer's attention tonight. So bear with us, and I will now pass to the officer.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Apologies to members. It's not, as you say, it wasn't something I was aware of until this evening. So I will have to, Chairman, provide a written response to members explaining the situation and when that's due to come back. It's not something I can respond to this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Newport, bearing in mind the officer did only know tonight and we did have time to feed this in, are you okay with that response?
Yes, that's absolutely fine, Chairman. I couldn't attend the briefing because I was working. So.
Thank you. Moving on, item 2 on the agenda, apologies for absence. We have received apologies from the following councillors: Councillor Mrs Gooding, Councillor Mr Sharp and Councillor Mrs Page. Are there any other apologies, please? No one's indicating. Thank you, members. Agenda item number 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of May 2025. Are the minutes agreed, members? Thank you, members. Agenda item number 4, declarations of interest. I would like to just bring the officer in on this one, please.
Sorry, Chairman. All with regards to the item on by the review of the independent remuneration panel on members' allowances, all members will have a disclosable pecuniary interest in connection with that matter, and therefore would record that in the minutes, but all members have a dispensation to be able to contribute to that debate. So we'll record that in the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 5 is announcements. So first of all, the announcement. Oh, sorry. Somebody raised their hand. Councillor Mrs Shaw. Councillor Mike Stepton.
Just to declare that a member of Essex County Council.
And also member of Essex County Council. Thank you.
Anybody else? Why? Where? No, just those two. Thank you. Moving on now to item 5, announcements. So the first announcement is from myself as Chairman of the Council. Before I begin my main update, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic incident at Southend Airport on Saturday, July the 13th, in which 4 lives were sadly lost. Our thoughts and heartfelt condolences go out to the families of the loved ones affected. I want to pay tribute to the London Southend Airport team and all of the emergency services, including the police, ambulance crews and firefighters who responded swiftly and professionally during this deeply distressing event. As a community, we share in the grief of the families affected by this tragedy. A memorial service was held last Friday at St Andrew's Church to honour the victims, and it was a poignant occasion to stand together in remembrance and support. I would now like to ask all members to please stand and join me in observing a minute of silence in memory of those who lost their lives. Thank you. Please be seated. This is my first chairman's announcement since being elected at the end of May, and I want to begin by saying what an incredible honour it is to serve as chairman of the council. It has been a very busy and rewarding start to the civic year, and I'm proud to represent our district and help raise the profile of the many wonderful organisations and people within it. Since taking on this role, I have had the privilege of attending a wide range of events across the district. These include attending the Rayleigh Art Trail, which showcased the creativity and talent within our community, as well as several school end-of-year performances and award evenings. It is always inspiring to see our young people celebrated for their achievements and creativity. I had the pleasure of attending both the annual King Edmunds School Awards and Greenswald School Awards. I can say I was absolutely blown away by the talent and achievements of our young people, and I'm sure all members share my best wishes for all school leavers. One of the highlights of the past month was the Armed Forces Day. The flag raising ceremony was on the 23rd of June. I was incredibly proud to see such strong support from local councillors, dignitaries and members of the public. It was a moving occasion and a powerful reminder of our collective respect and gratitude for the men and women who serve in our armed forces. In addition, I've attended a number of civic services and the High Sheriff's Garden Party, both opportunities to show solidarity and respect to neighbouring authorities and representatives who work hard for our wider county and region. As I shared during my speech at the annual Full Council, one of my key focuses this year will be supporting men's mental health and teenage mental health. I am passionate about making a real difference to the lives of people in our district. By supporting South East Central Essex Mind, my chosen charity of the year, I hope we can strengthen the important work already being done and help ensure more people can access the support they need when they need it most. I am delighted to report that our highly successful garden party on the 6th of July raised over £1,100 for South East Essex Central Essex Mind, and just last week the musical quiz night added to the fundraising, and our total already stands at over £2,000. A big thank you to everyone who supported these events. Your generosity and enthusiasm mean a great deal. I am fully committed to coordinating these efforts throughout the year and will keep you all informed of future initiatives and opportunities to get involved in. Separately, I would also like to express sincere thanks to our emergency services for their swift and professional response in the recent field fires in the district. Their efforts ensured that residents remained safe and damage was minimised. We are grateful for their dedication and their bravery. Finally, as we approach the summer break, I'd like to wish all members and officers a restful and enjoyable summer. Thank you all again for your support and encouragement during these early weeks. Moving on, does the Leader of the Council wish to make any announcements, please? Thank you, Councillor Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a short announcement from me. I'd just like to briefly reflect on the last 2 months since becoming Leader of the Council. We've seen a very positive round of committee meetings, with chairs taking on real ownership of the reports and the meeting themselves, something we were keen to implement under our administration. On that note, my thanks go to all members and officers for their contributions. It's been encouraging to see such constructive engagement and support. Each committee has now developed a comprehensive work programme for the year ahead, clearly setting out their key areas of focus to help us ensure we can achieve our priorities for the district and our residents over this municipal year. I won't go over everything we have accomplished in the last 8 weeks, some of which are legacy items, as we have a very full agenda. And I have been providing weekly public and member updates. But noteworthy is the sale of our 2 South Street sites, which can help support regeneration ambitions within Rochford Town Centre, the opening of the Freight House with the design cabin, who I urge everybody to support. We've hosted a number of fantastic business engagement events and taken bold steps to try and provide our Greenbelt some much needed defence, not least the letter to Angela Rayner, and I'd like to express my thanks to Councillor Eaves for taking the initiative to delve into the numbers for us. I'd like to conclude by wishing our Lionesses good luck in tonight's semi-finals. A Euro final would be absolutely fantastic for our local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Does the chairman of any policy committees or the Audit and Governance Committee wish to make any announcements? Nobody's indicating. Thank you. Does the Deputy Chief Executive wish to make any announcements?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. So moving on, item number 6 on your agenda, public and member questions. Members, we have received 2 questions from members of the council, which are set out on page 17 of the agenda. Question 1 is from Councillor Cross to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Mrs Danielle Belton. Councillor Cross, would you like to read out your question, please?
Thank you, Chairman. To the Leader of the Council, Councillor Danielle Belton, can the Leader of the Council give residents of Rochford District an assurance that there will be no large or medium-scale housing developments proposed on Greenbelt or newly defined Grey Belt land during their administration? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Mrs Danielle Belton, Leader of the Council, to respond?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Councillor Cross. I'm slightly concerned that you aren't already aware of the many large and medium-scale housing developments being proposed on Greenbelt and what is likely to become Grey Belt in our district, presumably to take advantage of the revised MPPF and significantly increased housing delivery targets from the Labour government elected a year ago. Not only have many of these proposals been heavily publicised in local media and have held specific exhibitions, but I have also arranged that all council members receive a confidential weekly update of potential applications in the district. As a councillor, I would have expected you to be taking a keen interest in such things, given the devastating effect they could have on our district. What I can confirm, though, is under this administration, there will be no support of new towns or any housing that adds to our already unsustainable housing numbers, and that furthermore, unlike the previous administration who decided to drag their feet with the local plan rather than taking the tough decisions, we are pushing on to try and defend as much of our semi-rural district as we can before it's too late.
Thank you. Councillor Cross, do you have a supplementary to your first question?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair. Through you, if I can ask the Leader of the Council. Yes, thank you for that response. I am well aware of speculative proposals and applications, and this is what concerns the residents of Rochford District.
Is there a question, please?
Yes, I'm getting to the question, Madam Chair. How does she reconcile that stance with the fact that the chairman of the Rayleigh and Wickford Conservatives is actually, former chairman is a
former planning officer of Rochford District Council and also a managing director of a consultancy that is involved in planning applications.
Councillor Cross, could
yes,
you
I'm coming
explain?
to the question.
No, hold on. Could you explain how that is relevant to your first question?
I'm coming to the supplementary question.
If we could just do the supplementary question, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
How can the leader of Rochford District Council make that statement when there are two members of her team who are heavily involved with consultancies whose prime interest is developments on, and including on Greenbelt land? The current development in Brays Lane is Chelgate, and one of the councillors is a senior consultant for that
Councillor
company.
Cross, you've asked a question about two people, and that's your supplementary question, I believe.
Thank you. Yes, how does she reconcile that?
Okay. Councillor Mrs Belton, would you like to answer?
Thank you. Interesting question and statement. Ultimately, I reconcile it on the basis that everything I said was factual in the previous answer, and there's not really anything else for me to add that hasn't already been said publicly. We stand by what we've said. We will protect as much of this district's greenbelt as we possibly can via the local plan process that unfortunately has been delayed, but we are progressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Question 2 is from Councillor Stuart Wilson to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Mrs Daniel Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies slightly to Councillor Belton, because when the original motion was passed, you were just Councillor Belton rather than the Leader, so it reads a bit strangely. At the February 2025 Extraordinary Council meeting, called to consider a motion proposed by Councillor Belton that this Council committed to write to the Minister of State for Local Government and English Devolution to confirm its opposition to Labour's English Devolution White Paper of the 16th of December 2024 and to request a referendum before any devolution or local government reorganisation is imposed on Rochford residents. Can the Leader update the Council on what response has been received, please?
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Belton, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Councillor Wilson. A response was received from Jim McMahon MP by Jonathan Stevenson on the 10th of March. It was circulated to all group leaders at the time on the 16th of March. You should have subsequently been sent a copy of the response by your leader, Councillor Hoy. I do have a printed copy here for you, and I'm happy to read the content aloud if members wish.
Thank you. Councillor Mr Wilson, do you have a supplementary question to that?
Yes, I do. Was there, has there been any subsequent direct correspondence with the Minister? Are you able to update on that?
Councillor Belton.
Thank you. There's been no subsequent correspondence between myself and the Minister. There have been a number of generic letters from the Minister to all council leaders across the whole of Essex as part of LGR, which have been circulated. Thank you.
Agenda item 7. Agenda item 7, local government reorganisation, otherwise known as LGR. The report begins on page 3 of the supplementary agenda. The report was only published yesterday, but I consider it is an urgent item due to the timescales associated with LGR. So I'm now going to invite the Leader of the Council to introduce the report and move the recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. Over the past week, members have been circulated a members' briefing. I've attended the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and we now have the supplementary agenda item report that has come out. So I won't go through the details of the recommendations. I will just move straight to recommendations 1 to 7. I'd like to propose them. So they are on pages of 3 and 4 of your report, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions if they come up during the debate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I believe we have a seconder for that. Councillor Mr Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm happy to second each of the recommendations. And unusually, I'm going to wait and ask you if I may reserve my my speech on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. That saves me asking you. I'm now going to open this up for debate, so if you would like to raise your hands, if you would like to speak on this item. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Chairman. There is, obviously, I've read the reports through. I'd like to make this observation. 4.8, from a structural point of view, has by far a more cohesive, harmonious commonality about it. From a Rochford resident point of view, I think they will feel they have more in common with those other adjoining authorities that will go to make up this new local combined authority. From a democracy point of view, 4.8 as a choice of grouping will give a greater sense of representation to the local residents. Neither 3.4 or 5.2 will give a fair representation to Rochford, as it can never be an equal partner and will definitely be overpowered and swallowed up by all the other authorities within that grouping. From an economic standpoint, 4.8 would be of a size that will enable all the necessary services that would be expected of an authority of this size. So I fully support and get behind the recommendation for 4.8. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mr Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to start by registering my frustration. We only received this report a little over 24 hours ago, and we're now being asked to take a position on what is arguably the biggest change to local government in Essex in over 50 years. I don't think that tonight we should be making this decision. I think what I'd like to do is propose that this item's deferred to an extraordinary council meeting, if possible, and that will give us time to have meaningful group discussions, and the public will have had time to read those reports. So I think I'd like to put forward a proposal that we defer this item to a future meeting. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder to your proposal?
Chairman.
Councillor Hoy, thank you. Members, we will now debate the discussion around the deferral. Councillor Belton.
Thank you. I fully appreciate the report only came out yesterday, but parts of it were sent to members last week. Over the last few weeks, there have been multiple group leader member briefings to discuss the position and the detail within all of the reports that have been circulated. Sadly, Councillor Newport hasn't attended a single one, which doesn't help the position and the fact that he may not feel fully abreast to make a decision this evening. Ultimately, time is of the essence. We were already on the back foot because we were on a path to 5.2 that we didn't fully understand. When this council took the decision to support 5.2, it took it on the basis that it didn't need to be joined with Castle Point and Southend. That was never an option available to us. So the council made a decision without fully understanding. Since becoming leader, I've attended multiple meetings, multiple briefings, and read more reports than I can lay my hands on. And we are in a position now where we need to move forward. All of the decisions that we are taking are in principle because this is moving and it's moving at pace. And when I was scrutinised for the best part of an hour last week at ONS, I answered all of the questions. Councillor Hoy was there, many other councillors were there that asked questions. So I'm surprised we're now seeking a deferral. And nobody has approached me over the last few days to discuss concerns, to talk about things. The hour-long members briefing that was sent to everybody as a video. There was lots of detail. Everything that's in this report, more or less, has been said over the last week at least once. So I find it very disappointing. I find it very concerning. I'm sure there's a number of you that are taking holidays over the summer period, and this is a chance that we all need to be together. We all need to be taking a decision, and it's in principle. The final decision comes in September. So if things change between now and then, if the results of the survey come back, if we indeed support a survey, if they come back indifferent or challenge what we think, then we've got until September to deal with that. We are leaving our options open, but we are creating some direction so that our officers can get on with the job. I have overwhelmingly been contacted by residents in support of a 4-unitary model, or at the very least a mid-Essex model, and that is what's presented here, while still keeping our feet under other tables as well, so that we can keep an eye on what's going on. I do not support a deferral. I think it is dangerous. I think it is a waste of time, and I'm disappointed that Councillor Newport hasn't engaged in this process with me, despite it being requested. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. I do support deferral. This issue is of historic importance, the biggest change to local government in 50 years. So I find it quite baffling, to be honest with you, that this administration is seeking to withdraw from the only 2 realistic options on the table without properly consulting residents first. Surely this is too important for this council to decide today without their input. I find myself deeply uncomfortable with this, particularly as residents would have had a very limited amount of time to see what we are voting on tonight, given that the papers for this seminal item were only released yesterday. This is why I will be voting in favour of a deferral.
Thank you. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. You won't be surprised to hear that I don't support deferment this evening. I haven't heard any substantive reasons to actually do so. And in particular, I saw on a Liberal Democrat councillor's social page, either today or yesterday, that the Essex Liberal Party has already made a decision as to which option it's going to support. So therefore, I can't see any reason at all why the Liberal Democrats speaking tonight want to defer it. They've already made their decision. I'd like to hear why they made that decision. I'd like to also refocus our resources in accordance with the debate and the vote alongside those options that are likely to be of great benefit to our residents. I'm not speaking to the recommendations at this point, Chairman, but I would like to speak to them, as I said earlier, later in the debate. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. This is very much a resident, if you like, inquiry, really, as it's the residents that will be paying for it at the end of the day. And from the last meeting which I attended in place of Councillor Newport, who couldn't make it because of work commitments, let me add, it was said to me that, and said to all of us at the time of the meeting, that there are monetary values involved in this, and whether or not they may come in as an effect of what we decide to do, and not until the 22nd of July. Now, from what I understand, this is not the 22nd of July yet, and we haven't had that information. So today is the 22nd, and we haven't had that information exactly. So until we get the information as to what the monetary values are and how that commits the council to its progression in this, I think we should wait and see. Thank you.
Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I actually agree that perhaps we should defer this, because we have had a lot of material given to us, and we've had an argument about like with like, rural districts, urban, but what we're not looking at and haven't really had an appreciation of, when you become a unitary or part of one, you need infrastructure for highways and all those kind of things, which Southend has. But if you look at the rural districts that go across the middle, we really do need some better information on this, because it is in rather a hurry. The government's doing it in a hurry. We've had documents sent to us. We've had a couple of maps picked out that, okay, you know, well, let's all go for this. But what we need is really to be better informed. And as regards the residents, well, it's all very well the council. I mean, I could ask some of my residents down the street, and they won't want to be tied in with a council area that's an industrial one because this is a country district, it's rural. So, but when you look at it in the logistical point of view, are they making the right choice? We don't know. So the problem at the moment is I think we really should defer this because it is an important decision, and we're racing through saying we only want this and that. And we really do need to ponder this a little bit more in depth, I think, and to be better informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, I'm supporting deferral, and I'll explain why. As the Deputy Leader of the previous administration, I attended leaders' meetings, I attended the LGR5 meetings, which is about the 5 unitary model. I spoke to leaders. As an Essex County councillor, I'm still involved in the 3 model. I get Essex County Council briefings. I'm on the corporate scrutiny body, which will be scrutinising the 3 unitary model on the 11th of August. I've had one briefing last week, another one in a couple of weeks' time, which again Councillor Newport will be on, no doubt. I feel that I'm quite well versed in this. I've had a lot of knowledge given to me. I've attended many meetings, and as I've said to people, my mind has been changed. I was fiercely opposed to the reorganisation of local government, but I can now see the benefits of unitary authorities. But even I, with one day, I'm struggling to get all the information, and I feel, and to my mind, and I'm sorry, but this will be the case because it's the leader's report, and I feel that it's biased towards moving towards the 4 unitary model without us knowing what support there is from other councils. I think it is very worthwhile deferring it so that we have time to absorb the report, and particularly members who may not be as well versed in it as some of us, like Councillor Belton, Councillor Newport, probably Councillor Steptoe, Councillor Shaw as well, from their roles at Essex. So that's why I feel it needs to be deferred. This is a very complex area, it's very important, and I feel that it's just not enough time to absorb this information.
Thank you. Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair. I think there's one essential point that is being missed by this motion, and that is the fact that if we don't make a decision tonight, the decision will be made for us. And that is a serious consideration. Do we want this decision to be foisted on us, or do we want to have a voice in it? That is what the basis of this motion tonight is about. So I will not be supporting deferment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reeves. Okay, I can see nobody else indicating, so therefore we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour of a deferment, please raise your hands. Thank you. All members against deferral? That proposal is lost. So now we will go back to debating the original item. Thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Could I ask what the count was, please, Madam Chair? Thank you.
22 against, 14 for. Okay, so we're back to debating the original motions. Anybody indicating? Otherwise I will... Oh, Councillor Newport.
Thanks. Thank you, Chair. Before we go any further, I'd just like to ask the leader to clarify which configurations residents will be consulted on, because it's not very clear from the report. Will they be given a voice on all the options currently in play, including 5.2, 3.9, 3.4 and 4.8? Can I let the leader answer that before I continue? Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, that is very much the intention of the consultation, is to include the 4 options.
Thank you, Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. So now turning to the substance, I support the configuration 5.2, the 5 unitary model, and I do urge others to do the same because it represents a reasonable, proportional and locally focused approach. When I was leader, I promised that under no circumstances would our residents pay a penny of Thurrock's debt. The leader must say this clearly and put that on the record tonight that she agrees with that.
Councillor Mrs. Belton, would you like the...
If the leader wants to reply now, that's fine.
So in response to that specific point, it's impossible for the previous leader to make that statement like it's impossible for me because government decide. I am firmly against taking on any other authority's debt, not least Thurrock's 25% of the entire makeup of debt of the county. I don't actually want to take on anybody's debt whatsoever. Sadly, that is not in my gift. Government will decide how debt is dealt with. Government will decide which authorities we are partnered with. What I intend to do with this council is give our residents the best chance of one that they support. Thank you.
Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Councillor Belton, once again. So, Chair, the idea, I'm just going to specifically talk about option 4.8. So, the idea that we now begin to build our own separate business case, which option 4.8, I think is a distraction. It's like building a square wheel. We know it won't roll. And I know, factually, that none of those other councils in option 4.8 support that case. I've spoken to the leader at Malden, Chelmsford, Brentwood. Now we're being asked to waste time, money and energy pushing the square wheel uphill. With the government deadline for business case submissions just weeks away, the council can't afford to indulge in theoretical exercises. Our residents need clarity, they deserve honesty, and they deserve a model of local government that is genuinely local. I do urge members to back the 5 unitary model, reject the mega council, and let's stop wasting time inventing wheels that go nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. The business cases for the new unitary authorities must demonstrate through the LGR process that it will not be imposing excessive council tax increases on some residents at the expense of others in newly taken over areas, whilst ensuring long-term sustainability of local services. Now, I've just taken to Google because that's where our residents are likely to live. They won't be living in the Grant Thornton report. So let's look at the likelihood of this outcome, the outcome of council tax increases, looking at several parameters around the 5 model, in particular the 5.2 model, which has just been spoken about by Councillor Newport. Okay, this has all come from Google. I haven't consulted the individual councils, so it's up to date as Google is up to date. Southend Council has notched up more than £355 million in debt over the last 10 years as it struggles to maintain services. Southend City Council also holds substantial amount of uncollected debt from previous financial years, and Google tells me it's 11.9 million. It also tells me in terms of the adult and social care budgets, they're under pressure. And I also know through the expression of interest that Southend needs to expand into Rochford District to deliver housing and business growth into our green belt. So let's have a look at the 3 unitary model chosen for Rochford District by Essex County Council. We already know, as I've just set out, the impact of Southend on our district. So now to Thurrock. Again, these are figures that have just popped out of Google when I asked the question. Thurrock Council has accumulated a substantial debt. I think we all know that. It's estimated to be around £1.3 billion. This debt is largely attributed to a series of risky investments, particularly in the renewable energy sector, which resulted in significant financial losses to the council. Thurrock Council is apparently facing a net overspend in its adult social care and health budget. Thurrock Council's housing strategy also aims to increase the number of council-owned homes and work with partners to provide more affordable housing. Chairman, I can support neither of these, and they are 5.2 and 3.4, as I see them increasing council tax for residents of our district, because they'll be servicing huge combined debt, greater demand for adult social services costs from the other authorities, and further overdevelopment of Greenbelt. Rochford District Council should reject them now and use its resources. As I said earlier, we need to refocus our resources to create cases, if it's possible, for 4.8, 4 unitaries, and more particularly with 3.9, which dissociates Rochford District from both Southend and Thurrock. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Stuart Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a few observations, really. First of all, is that all of the options, and some in particular, produce very large local authorities. Just as a point of reference, the London boroughs, which are unitary authorities in their own right, typically are around 300,000, and yet some of the options that are shown in here go above 500,000. One of the things that we should consider as council is not just the monetary value, but it's also the sense of belonging, the sense of identity. And you can't put a figure on that, that's unquantifiable. So I wouldn't want this to be just simply an exercise of looking at spreadsheets and counting up numbers and payback years. And also the thing that I worry about is some large authorities have failed in the past. So we've only got to think about Avon Council, Cumbria Council and Humberside Council as well, which never really successfully got together, got their identity together and ultimately failed. And one question I've got is relating to Recommendation 6. Recommendation 6 says that a survey should be asked of our residents for up to 400 people as a target, and yet the motion that was passed by this council in February requested a referendum. So I would ask the leader why she has now changed her mind from having a referendum which would include all of our residents to a survey that includes up to 400. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Belton, would you like to come back on that now or leave it to the end?
Thank you. We did request a referendum from government. We feel it would be completely appropriate as residents haven't had a say in this process, devolution or local government reorganisation. However, the letter that came back from Jim McMahon was very dismissive of that fact and said that consultations were the route that we had to go down. So the survey is something that members have all spoken about that we want to do. We want tangible local data not county-wide data. The 400 figure was to ensure that we were in line with the other surveys being conducted across the county. The 5 model are looking for 6,000 responses out of almost 2 million people, a response rate of 0.5% of the population. So that is what we've based the 400 figure on, to ensure that anything we get is at least comparable. I would obviously like to see much more data than that, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. Thankfully, our council isn't run by Google, which I think is a great benefit. I just want to touch on this fear around they're going to build on our green belt before I get started. I'm not sure if people are aware, because devolution is separate to LGR, but I think if you look at the Mayor's powers, the Mayor will have power over spatial planning. So it won't be the unitary authorities deciding where to build, it will be the Mayor. Anyway, today we face a pivotal decision that will shape the future of local government across our region. After reviewing the options very quickly, because I only had a day to do so, I strongly support the 5 unitary model, which is configuration 5.2, as proposed by the Business Case Group A, or LGR 5. This model is the best path forward for Rochford and our neighbouring districts. Why? Because it delivers local governance that truly reflects our community's needs. Rochford had its own identity, challenges and opportunities. A 5 authority model ensures we retain a strong independent voice without being lost in a larger, more generic structure. Crucially, this model preserves our boundaries. It avoids splitting or merging our district in ways that would dilute our identity or disrupt the progress we've made as a community. It also gives us a governance structure that balances local control with regional coordination, so we can work with neighbours on shared goals. The benefits are clear. More responsive services delivered by people who understand local issues, efficient use of resources, reducing duplication while improving outcomes, balanced representation so that no one area dominates the agenda. In contrast, the 3 unitary model, configuration 3.4, proposed by Essex County Council, is too broad. It risks centralising power and reducing our influence. Rochford will be absorbed into a much larger unit, overshadowed by bigger populations and competing priorities. That's not the future our residents want or desire. Independent analysis supports this. In my view, the Grant Thornton report confirms that the 5 unitary model offers the best balance of efficiency, responsiveness and financial sustainability. Local consultations with people, and as Councillor Belton has done, I do the same, show strong support for this approach from residents and stakeholders, like when you explain the reality to them. Some have raised concerns about complexity, but in reality, 5 focused authorities mean simpler, smarter governance. It's allowed us to stay close to our communities while sharing services strategically where it makes sense. A 4 unitary model, in fact, as Councillor Newport said, has no initial support amongst other councils, and only since the change of leadership in Thurrock has any council showed any interest in one. Thurrock now does. At this stage, however, nothing has been worked out in detail, and the other councils are committed to be business case A or B, apart from Thurrock. They don't want us, as Councillor Newport said. I will not agree to moving forward with business case B or with a mythical 4 unitary under recommendation 4, which has no support. Jim McMahon MP made it quite clear, and I've heard him speak at the, I think it was the DCN conference and at other occasions, made it quite clear that support would be given to business cases if they were put forward and supported by all councils or a good majority of councils. Whatever we put forward will not have the support of those authorities in 4.8. They want to be in business case A, which would lead to it being thrown out and put us in danger, in my opinion, of the 3 unitary model being imposed on us. In conclusion, the 5 unitary model protects our local identity, ensures fair representation and positions Rochford for long-term success. I urge you to support this proposal, business case A under R1, for a governance model that truly works for our community now and in the future. I'm not sure I've got the recommendation right there, but I think people gather what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cripps.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to talk about what I was going to talk about. I'm going to talk about what Councillor Mason said a little while ago, the Deputy Leader of the Council. I think the deferment that was defined before explained that the problem was time scale to absorb a lot of information. The Leader of the Council also mentioned the problem of getting total costs out of her remit to put forward. And then we have Councillor Mason reading to us from Google significant information that isn't in this report. And I think that proves the point that this report doesn't include everything. It's too loose. It's taking the decision to give early retirement to one of the options. And I would also go back to last Thursday, and the chairman of the Scrutiny and Performance Committee will no doubt endorse what I'm going to say. At that meeting, it was visited by Councillor Belton and the CEO. And I suggested to the CEO that a best estimate of how much this devolution come LGR is going to cost us is something that all members, all 39 members, need to have before the September cut-off date. So there's an awful lot of information missing. And I would highlight that. I think Councillor Mason has underlined that for us with a report from Google. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cripps. Councillor Mrs Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to state that I'm slightly confused because I understand that a deferment was called for because there was not enough time to really digest the information which it is felt that is needed this evening. But having listened to what the speakers have said, there seems to be a lot of understanding as to what's going on. So I'm a bit confused about that. But anyway, I'm often confused, Chair, so I'll move on if that's okay. In preparing for this evening's meeting and this particular agenda item, I thought about the conversations I've had with my residents who are normally quite vocal in their opinions. What I've found really interesting is that the people I've spoken to, or those that have spoken to me, actually really don't want to get down to the nitty-gritty as to how much it's going to cost, what roads we're going to have in, because they all know that we're not going to have enough infrastructure. That's what they tell me. The thing they're really interested in is that actually they live in Rochford for a reason. They like Rochford as we are. They are terrified of being concreted over. They are terrified that we have lots of green belt and grey belt, as Councillor Cross alluded to earlier, that actually we will be the new building site for the new unitaries under LGR. So I thought I really must stand up and say something because my residents have given me their firm opinion. So in prepping for this meeting, I'm going to do no more than quote from the next agenda item, if that's okay. Because, as we all know, we had a peer review undertaken very, very recently. What was written by people who actually don't live in our district was really interesting and sums it up much better than I could, so I have totally cheated. And I'm going to read out from their report what they think of us here in Rochford. So, under their executive summary, they say, Rochford District offers a unique blend of unspoiled countryside, I'd agree with that, rich heritage and strategic connectivity. The district combines rural charm with proximity to urban opportunity. And that summed up in a way is what our residents are saying to us, that we know what we've got next door, and actually we like to live here because we don't want to live next door. The Grant Thornton report and the maps given to us in the supplementary part of this agenda give us options 3.9 and 4.8, which in my view ties in to not what just the peer review said about Rochford, which I feel is really accurate, but actually what our residents want. And I think if we don't listen to them, we do that at our peril. This is new. There will be lots of information coming on. And as the leader said earlier, any decision taken this evening is in principle. So I urge this council to go forward and take their decision this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. I say this with the greatest of respect, but I think this new administration is deluding itself, and in doing so is also misleading our residents. As I've said before, I think they are howling at the moon. The cold, hard reality is that there are only two options on the table. Option one, proposed, by the way, by the Essex Tories, is a 3 unitary authority which could see us and our residents saddled with over £1 billion worth of debt from Thurrock Council, with control of what happens to our green belt completely out of our hands and in the hands of people who know little to nothing about this district or about its residents. Which, by the way, would be the same for any configuration of a 3 unitary model. Or option two, a 5 unitary authority, Southend and Castle Point, which has its own drawbacks, but at least gives us a chance to control what happens in our own area. Quite frankly, we are chasing unicorns here in pursuing an alternative 3 or 4 unitary model that no other council wants. This is a waste of time and a waste of money. The money would be better spent on in more worthwhile areas. Voting for these alternatives is like voting for the hair on my bald spot to magically grow back. As much as I would like it, that ain't going to happen either. Finally, if we withdraw from the 5 unitary authority business group, we will find ourselves in the odd position of our council not being represented, even though our chief executive will be in attendance at these meetings. So through you, Chair, I was going to ask Jonathan Stevenson tonight what challenges he sees here given this conflict and whether he will be able to keep this council updated on the progress of that group given his continued attendance at it. I'm happy for his deputy to answer, or I'm happy for him to come back to me after this meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Belton, do you want to come back and then?
Yeah, just to clarify on some of those points as in response, I think this is part of the issue. I think not all members are reading all the information that's coming out, maybe watching the briefings and staying abreast, because there aren't only 2 options on the table. There are already 3 options on the table, and we're looking at putting a 4th option on the table specifically for Rochford. At the meeting I attended Monday for 3 hours with all of the leaders and chief execs from across the county, it was actually stated that a number of councils still haven't made their mind up and that any council can put in their own business case up until the day of submission. The letter that came out from government, we could put 15 submissions in, 15 business cases if each council wanted to make their own. So there's either some miscommunication or some misunderstanding, but we are absolutely not howling at anything. We're not chasing anything. What we are doing is putting an option on the table that our residents can get behind. We want to do the work. We want to get the data. In September, if we come back and the members of this chamber and our residents have told us, we don't like your 4.8 model, we don't have to go forward with it. But at least we will have presented a credible alternative, which at the moment nobody else is doing, to put us in the Mid-Essex banding. I'm hearing lots of people say no one else supports it. That's not the case. What I'll do, I'll leave it for when I sum up, but I just wanted to come back for clarity so that members aren't making decisions on misinformation.
Thank you. As you know, our chief executive is on a well-deserved break, so I think that will be a written response after tonight's meeting. Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the problem we have this evening is we're not talking about the elephant in the room. All the residents of Foulness and Wakering, the last thing they want is to join to Southend Council, because they know that it's going to turn into Southend's building site. They've already had a behind the doors land grab, which hopefully we shall defeat, but time will tell. And this is just another way for Southend to move in and take our green belt. And I don't think anybody in the ward of Foulness and Wakerings, and probably nearby, wants anything to do with Southend. And any option that's on the table that gives us anything but Southend, I will vote for.
Thank you. I can see nobody else indicating, so I'm going to ask Councillor Lambourne, and I think we're going to make this the last speaker on this. I can't see anybody else indicating. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've all been talking about spreadsheets and whatever, and as some people have pointed out, that maybe we shouldn't be. The one thing I would ask, we've got members of the public here at the moment, if we join one of these big 4 or 5 council groups, where will the centre of government be, and where will members of the public go to be represented at meetings like this? If we join, say, with Southend and Castle Point, at least we're in a local area, and our residents and all the councillors can attend all the council meetings, all the committee meetings, etc., in a local area. But with these bigger areas, we are disenfranchising vast numbers of our people because they won't be able to get. Councillor Myers has a fear of Southend, but at least he can get to meetings there and your residents can get to meetings at Southend. Will they be able to get to meetings to Chelmsford? Will they be able to get to meetings at Malden? People in Foulness and people in Rochford have been complaining for years about having to come to Rayleigh. Now you're just going to make it even worse. So when we consider the options, please think about the people who we are representing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lambourne. Just for the record, I don't think Councillor Myers himself said that he had a fear of Southend, but the residents of Foulness and the Wakerings have a fear of merging with Southend. Councillor Belton, if you'd like to sum up, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to try and address all the points that have been raised, so they're not going to be in necessarily the most strategic of orders, but I just think it's important to try and cover off some points. I want to start by saying I don't think many of us in the room want this at all. This was not something that we wanted, and certainly if I had the option, I would be saying status quo, please, we'll stay as we are. And if we are going to have to go down this route, let us do it at a much slower pace where these negotiations and considerations can be had. We're looking at district and borough boundaries that don't necessarily make sense, but they're all we've got to work with. A few things. We talk about political balance and those kind of things and councillor representation. Worth noting, in 5.2, Southend will have more councillors than Rochford and Castle Point combined, meaning they can always outvote us if they want to keep Southend issues at bay. So we will never have that voice that we need to defeat the city. Councillor Hoy spoke about the mayor and devolution and the strategic plan. Absolutely right. The strategic plan will go up to a mayor, and a mayor will look at the unitaries available to them and they will look at a map. If we are in a map with Castle Point and Southend, where do you think the lion's share of that housing will be built within that unitary? We're the ones with all the land. You've only got to look at a bird's eye view. Rochford is twice the size of the other councils combined, and we've got 75% green belt still. So that is a huge risk. It's even bigger a risk than we are now, in my opinion. In terms of support from other councils, I think this is also a misconception. You don't need all the councils in your configuration to agree with the configuration. If that was the case, nothing would be happening because there is no one so far that fully agrees with the configuration. with the exception of possibly Uttlesford, because they don't have many choices, and tendering, because they only have one choice. But I'm speaking to councils that are still on the fence, and actually I've been asked, let us have that 4.8 data as soon as you've got it, because we may get behind it. We like the look of that map. So members are making comments without being in the room. They're only going on what they knew previously or what they may have assumed or heard. But other councils are certainly pursuing a 4 option, and at least one has outreached to me to say we're interested in your 4.8, and others are on the fence still. Ultimately, as I've said, government will decide. So if 4 options go in, if 5 options go in, government will make the decision that is best for government. They have already said this is all about finance. Option 5.2 is the least financially viable of all. The payback is 22 years. That's if it ever comes. And that's not figures that you're not aware of, because those reports were published and shared before I became leader. I knew about those figures before May, so everybody else had the opportunity to know those figures. So 5.2 might look good because you can say it gives the smallest authorities, but it gives the smallest authorities that lead to bankruptcy in the fastest possible route. In both options 3.4 and 5.2, Rochford District residents put more council tax in than they take out. In every single scenario, we prop up the other authority. We give more than we take. That is not something we should be doing, especially as, other than Malden, we're the only debt-free authority. So not only do we put more in than we get out, we're also subsidising other people's debt. Government are not going to write off £4 billion of debt. Let's be clear about that. We don't know what they are going to do, but they're not going to be writing it off. They've made that statement so far, at least. As I've said, any council can submit a business case right up until the deadline. I'm just trying to be proactive. I don't think we should leave it until the deadline. I think we should start looking at options now, presenting an alternative and seeing if it's something that this council decides they want to get behind in September. We're not talking about using more money. I recognise Councillor Cripps's points about the budgets and the cost. No one knows what the cost. Government don't know what the cost is. They provided one big upfront grant for all of the data to be provided from, and then this council, under the previous administration, set a budget of £250,000, and that is the budget that we are intending to draw from to do the work for 4.8, along with allowing our officers to concentrate on something that we believe is best for our district and our residents, rather than having to spend so much time in meetings and writing reports for options that our residents don't support. In terms of the 5.2 and withdrawing from it, 5.2 are already concluded. They're already in their chapter writing stage. They've done all of their data and their evidence, and they're not going to move any lines. They know what they're doing. They're writing chapters. Whether we're at the table or not doesn't change anything. It's just the wording in the chapter. And to be clear, the chapters are the descriptive niceties about why we want 5, why we don't want 4, why we don't want 3. And actually the 5 group are the only group that are focusing, or some of them, not all, but some of them are focusing on the negatives of the other options rather than the positives of their own. That is not a strong business case, in my opinion. I can't remember who it was, but one councillor mentioned the size of councils. All of these councils are large. And indeed, in the 5.2 option, one of those authorities is also over 500,000. So the argument doesn't stack up. A couple of final points. At the ONS, sorry, 2 more points then. At ONS, Councillor Hoy actually said he quite liked a 4.8 model, so I'm surprised within a few days he's now firmly against it. To sum up, everybody has had a vast amount of data. We have all been absolutely inundated with data, with reports, with evidence, with opinions. This is why I'm asking for support in principle to move forward, so that we can take the next 2 months to delve into the rest of the detail, look at what's best for Rochford, and take the best decision we can in September. Thank you.
Thank you. So members, we have got the recommendations on page 3 and 4. Listening to the debate, we will take them all individually. Thank you. So I'm going to read them out one
Chairman,
at a time.
I'm
Yes.
calling for a recorded debate on each of these items individually. Do you want me to stand up for each item individually, or do you accept that now if people stand up with me now?
It will take a while. So yes, okay, but we're going to have to
So
do
if people
that.
want to recorded votes, they should stand up now.
Is that for every
Yes.
recommendation, every single one?
Yes. Well, if I've got support for it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, members. If you'd like to sit down, that's fine. Okay, members, I'm going to read out recommendation 1, then we will go into the recorded vote. Please put your mics on when you respond, when your name's called. It doesn't pick up the recording otherwise. Okay, recommendation 1, that the council does not support the proposed reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex being progressed by Business Case Group B. This is configuration 3.4 as set out in Appendix A. And therefore, Rochford District Council and its officers do not continue to participate in this business case group whilst that configuration is being progressed. All those in favour of that recommendation? Oh, sorry. Well, I had to make a mistake, didn't I? There we go. I'm now going to pass over to the officers.
Yes, Chairman, just to remind members of the procedure, I'll first call out your name and then the Vice Chairman's, then I'll call out each member individually and ask you to indicate whether you are for, against, or you wish to abstain from the recommendation. Councillor McPherson.
For.
Councillor Wotton.
For.
Councillor Belton.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Brewer.
For.
Councillor Capon.
For.
Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Constable.
For.
Councillor Cripps.
For.
Councillor Cross.
For.
Councillor FD.
For.
Councillor Eves.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
For.
Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lambourne.
For.
Councillor Linden. Councillor Marriott.
For.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
For.
Councillor O'Leary.
For.
Councillor Shaw. P. Shaw.
For.
Sorry. Councillor Elshaw. Councillor Squires Coleman.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
For.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Councillor S. Wilson.
For.
Councillor I. Wilson.
For.
Councillor V. Wilson.
For.
Okay, members, that was a unanimous. We're now going to move on to recommendation number 2. Exactly the same process. So recommendation 2, that the council would support in principle a 3-unitary council proposal as set out in configuration 3.9 at Appendix B.
The same process, Chairman, so I'll ask you first.
For.
Councillor Wotton.
For.
Councillor Belton.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Brewer.
Against.
Councillor Capon. For. Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Constable.
For.
Councillor Cripps.
Against.
Councillor Cross.
Against.
Councillor Efty.
For.
Councillor Eves.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
Against.
Councillor Knight.
Against.
Councillor Lambourne. Councillor Linden. Councillor Marriott.
For.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
Against.
Councillor O'Leary.
Against.
Councillor P. Shaw.
For.
Councillor L. Shaw.
For.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
Against.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Councillor S. Wilson.
Against.
Councillor I. Wilson.
For.
And Councillor V. Wilson.
For.
That recommendation is one with 23 for and 13 against. Moving on the same process, please, for recommendation 3. That the council does not support the proposed reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex being progressed by Business Case Group A, configuration 5.2 as set out in Appendix C, and therefore Rochford District Council and its officers do not continue to participate in this business case group whilst the configuration is being progressed.
Councillor McPherson.
For.
Councillor Wotton.
For.
Councillor Belton.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Brewer.
Against.
Councillor Capon. For. Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Constable.
For.
Councillor Cripps.
Against.
Councillor Cross.
Against.
Councillor Efty.
For.
Councillor Eves.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
Against.
Councillor Knight.
Against.
Councillor Lambourne.
Against.
Councillor Linden.
Against.
Councillor Marriott.
For.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
Against.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
Against.
Councillor O'Leary.
Against.
Councillor P. Shaw.
For.
Councillor L. Shaw.
For.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
Against.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
4.
Councillor Webb.
4.
Councillor Williams.
4.
Councillor S. Wilson.
Against.
Councillor I. Wilson.
4.
Councillor V. Wilson.
4.
So what you got?
That recommendation is 1, 22 for, 14 against. Moving on to recommendation 4, that in the absence of either of the existing business case groups, progression proposals for reorganisation of local government in Greater Essex, which Rochford District Council can wholeheartedly support, the Council progresses its own proposal for a full 4-unitary model as set out in configuration 4.8 at Appendix D.
Councillor McPherson.
4.
Councillor Wotton.
4.
Councillor Belton.
4.
Councillor Booth.
4.
Councillor Brewer.
Against.
Councillor Capon. 4. Councillor Carter.
4.
Councillor Constable.
4.
Councillor Cripps.
Against.
Councillor Cross.
Against.
Councillor FD.
4.
Councillor Eves.
4.
Councillor Hoy.
Against.
Councillor Knight.
Against.
Councillor Lambourne.
Against.
Councillor Linden. Councillor Marriott.
4.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
4.
Councillor Myers.
4.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
Against.
Councillor O'Leary.
Against.
Councillor P. Shaw.
4.
Councillor L. Shaw.
4.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
4.
Councillor Stanley.
Against.
Councillor Steptoe.
4.
Councillor Sutton.
Against.
Councillor Ward.
4.
Councillor Webb.
4.
Councillor Williams.
4.
Councillor S. Wilson.
Against.
Councillor I. Wilson.
4.
Councillor V. Wilson.
4.
Recommendation 4 is 1, 24 for, 12 against. Moving on to recommendation 5, that the Chief Executive is delegated authority in consultation with the leader of the Council to take all necessary action, including commissioning external support as necessary to progress recommendation 4 and to utilise the 250,000 reserve allocated for local government reorganisation.
Councillor McPherson.
4.
Councillor Wotton.
4.
Councillor Belton.
4.
Councillor Booth.
4.
Councillor Brewer.
Against.
Councillor Capon. 4. Councillor Carter.
4.
Councillor Constable.
4.
Councillor Cripps.
Against.
Councillor Cross.
Against.
Councillor FD.
4.
Councillor Eves.
4.
Councillor Hoy.
Against.
Councillor Knight.
Against.
Councillor Lambourne.
Against.
Councillor Linden. Councillor Marriott.
4.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
Against.
Councillor Myers.
4.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
Against.
Councillor O'Leary. Councillor P. Shaw.
4.
Councillor L. Shaw.
4.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
4.
Councillor Stanley.
Against.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
Against.
Councillor Ward. For. Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Councillor S. Wilson.
Against.
Councillor I. Wilson.
For.
Councillor V. Wilson.
For.
Thank you. That recommendation, 22 for, 14 against. Thank you, members. Moving on to recommendation 6, that the council commissions a survey to gather residents' views on the configurations available, with a target of reaching a minimum of 400 people, which is comparable to the target set by Business Case Group A, and that members be updated on the findings ahead of the meeting at full council on the 16th of September 2025.
Councillor McPherson.
For.
Councillor Wotton.
For.
Councillor Belton.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Brewer.
For.
Councillor Capon. Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Constable.
For.
Councillor Cripps.
For.
Councillor Cross.
For.
Councillor FD.
For.
Councillor Eaves.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
So you caught me out there. For.
Keep up. Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lambourne.
For.
Councillor Linden. Councillor Marriott.
For.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
For.
Councillor O'Leary.
For.
Councillor Shaw.
For.
Councillor P. Shaw, that was, thank you. Councillor L. Shaw.
For.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
For.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Councillor S. Wilson.
For.
Councillor I. Wilson. Councillor V. Wilson. Unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Recommendation 6 was unanimous. So moving on to recommendation 7. The expenditure against the 250,000 budget set aside to support work in connection with local government reorganisation be reported to the meeting of full council on the 16th of September 2025.
Councillor McPherson.
For.
Councillor Wotton.
For.
Councillor Belton.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Brewer. Councillor Capon. Councillor Carter.
For.
Councillor Constable.
For.
Councillor Cripps.
For.
Councillor Cross.
For.
Councillor FD.
For.
Councillor Eaves. For. Councillor Hoy.
For.
Ready this time. Councillor Knight.
For.
Councillor Lambourne. For. Councillor Linden.
For.
Councillor Marriott.
For.
Councillor E. Mason. Councillor J. Mason. Councillor Milne.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor J. Newport. Councillor L. Newport.
For.
Councillor O'Leary. Councillor P. Shaw.
For.
Councillor L. Shaw.
For.
Councillor Squires Coleman.
For.
Councillor Stanley.
For.
Councillor Steptoe.
For.
Councillor Sutton.
For.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Councillor Webb.
For.
Councillor Williams.
For.
Councillor S. Wilson.
For.
Councillor I. Wilson. And Councillor V. Wilson. Unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you, members. That was unanimous. So if we can move on now, please, to item 8, Corporate Peer Challenge, the outcome letter and action plan. The report begins on page 19 of the agenda. I'm going to invite the Deputy Chief Executive to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chairman. A comprehensive report setting out the findings of the Local Government Association Corporate Peer Challenge. I think on behalf of the Council and through yourself, just like to thank all those members and officers that form part of the peer review team and produced the report, which is set out in Appendix A, along with an action plan in response to the recommendations which they make, which is set out in Appendix B. You'll note the actions don't have specific time against them. They're all to be implemented over the course of this municipal year. And Chairman, it does recommend that a progress report is submitted to the Strategy, Finance and Policy Committee in 6 months, and a final update on the action plan will be reported to members as well. As I say, a comprehensive report, so I'll leave it there, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Danielle Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to move the 3 recommendations set out on page 19. I'd like to echo my thanks to officers, members and the LGA for undertaking the work last year, which I think we can all appreciate is hard work and time consuming. These reviews help shape the way the council is run, and whilst it reflects the previous administration, we as a new administration are using it to ensure the best possible version of Rochford District Council is achieved this municipal year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mason, John Mason.
Seconded, Chairman. I will reserve, but I don't expect to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman, and it's good to hear that Councillor Belton will continue the efforts that we put in last year. Before us tonight is the outcome letter and action plan from the Local Government Association's Corporate Peer Challenge undertaken in April. As leader of the council at the time, I do take this opportunity to reflect with some pride on the progress we made during that period. The Peer Challenge report highlighted the significant strides we took as an authority, not only setting a new corporate plan, but in delivering tangible outcomes, from the successful allocation of UK Shared Prosperity Fund projects to the reopening of the Civic Suite, relocation to Launchpad, and the procurement of the new leisure contract. They were really good results, I think, for this authority, but also for our residents. This was made possible by the strength and dedication of the then administration, and I particularly want to thank our committee chairs who played a central role in leading that work. Councillor Lisa Newport for her tireless efforts in building stronger partnerships, especially in her work with the voluntary sector, her work to reinvigorate the CSP, and other community organisations. Councillor Hoy, whose leadership on economic development strategy gave us a clear direction for supporting local businesses and jobs. Councillor Cribbs, for his diligence and focus in guiding the work on the new local plan, a critical document for the district's long-term future. Councillor Stanley, who brought purpose and momentum to our work on the environment. And Councillor Cross, whose calm and consistent leadership ensured our licensing functions remained effective and responsive throughout. Of course, none of this would have been possible, Chairman, without the dedicated support of our officers, the corporate leadership team and staff across both Rochford and Brentwood, who worked with professionalism and commitment, and I really do want to thank them sincerely. We led with ambition and we governed with discipline, and we brought focus to the committee system, and we gave political weight to strategic planning and sought cross-party support wherever possible. The Peer Challenge report is a reflection of that collective effort, and I'm proud to have led it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you. I can't really add much to that. That was an unexpected thanks. Thank you. I'd just like to really add to say that it was an interesting experience. I've only had one peer review before when I was a very minor cog in the council. This was much more interesting, and it was interesting how thoroughly they went into how we work, and it was also very useful given it was the first year of our operating under a committee system. There was obviously a lot for us to learn, and I think we learned quite a lot from that peer review, which I'm sure will be carried on by the new administration. Just as a slight bit of feedback, I have met one of the peer reviewers since then at the LGA conference, where she commented how much she enjoyed her visit here. And just so you're aware, she was elected to the chair of the independent group at the LGA last month. Just to add my thanks to the officers, thank the administration, and thank the opposition members, because without opposition at the time, you need that input from the opposition as well as the administration to make sure you're on the right track. And lastly, I'd like to thank Councillor Newport for his leadership over the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. I can't see anybody else indicating. Oh, sorry, Councillor O'Leary.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, Appendix A praises the former Lib Dem and Independent Joint Administration for making impressive strides and encourage them to leave a lasting legacy. So I'd like to congratulate the former administration on the first bit, and on the second bit, I sincerely hope the new administration continue with that legacy. I also note that the peer review team recommends that leaders of the council remain focused and avoid distraction from social media discourse. So I would like to ask the new leaders of the council if they intend to follow that advice. Thank you.
Councillor Belton, you want to come back on that one?
Thank you. I don't know what Councillor O'Leary means by discourse. I intend to keep using social media for the benefit of engaging with our residents, communicating with them and ensure everybody understands exactly what we do at Rochford District Council for them. Thank you.
Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. At this point, I would just like to thank Marcus Houghton and Adam Aldridge for their help in the work that we did in bringing this council back to the 21st century rather than as old as what it was with dilapidated equipment and what have you. They worked extremely hard to get the work, to get the machines and to get the transport that we put together, and to thank my leader who put me in that position to do exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you. I cannot see for definite anybody else indicating. So, Councillor Belton, would you like to sum up, please?
Nothing else to add, Chair.
So we have the recommendations on page 19. Would you like to take them on block, members? Does anybody need me to read them out? Thank you. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, members. That is unanimous. Item 9 is the review of the members' allowances scheme report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. The report begins on page 59 of the agenda. On behalf of the Council, can I thank the members of the Independent Remuneration Panel for the work they have undertaken in producing the report this evening. I would like to invite the Deputy Chief Executive to introduce the report.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Just very briefly, when the Council moved to a committee system, you were required to adopt a members' allowances scheme to operate as part of that system. But I think the Council recognised at that time that it would be necessary to review it in light of the learning over the last year, and the panel undertook a review at the beginning of 2025, concluded, I think, around the March-April time. Their report is set out in Appendix A. Just to echo your comments, Chairman, worked with the Independent Remuneration Panel. I think the Council's very fortunate to have a good panel of three members. I'd just like to thank them for their work and the way in which they engaged with officers as well in producing this. Nothing further to add, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Belton.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to propose that option 1 on page 61 be accepted by Council, to accept the panel's recommendations in full and amend the members' allowances scheme accordingly. I believe this is appropriate as the uplift reflects the increased responsibilities taken on by Chairman under the new committee system. The proposed adjustments ensure the allowances are aligned with the workload and expectations of these roles, as highlighted by the LGA Corporate Peer Review Challenge that we just discussed. You will also note Chairman are now taking much more ownership of reports and meetings to ensure appropriate accountability. Rochford currently has some of the lowest allowances for councillors in Essex, and that will still be the case after the proposed changes. If we're serious about attracting candidates from a wide range of backgrounds, particularly working people, parents, and those with professional expertise, we must ensure that it's viable for them. We also need to have a broad mix of people prepared to give up their time as we navigate the complicated space of LGR over the next 3 years. This is especially important as demands and expectations of public office continue to grow. The recommendation to restrict special responsibility allowances to 1 per member also promotes a fairer and more transparent distribution of responsibility and resources, and supports the Council's ambition to be a forward-thinking and well-managed authority, whilst also generating a financial saving. The independent panel's views have been respected. They always have been. both when they have recommended increases to allowances and decreases to allowances. Their process involved interviews with councillors across political groups under the previous administration, including all previous committee chairs, to ensure a rounded and impartial understanding of the roles. Their findings are based on evidence, benchmarking and consultation, and to that end, I believe, should be respected as they always have been. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got nothing to add, but I will reserve in case of necessity. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's open to debate. Anybody want to speak on this? Councillor Mrs. Wilson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mine will be short and sweet, just carrying on from what our leader, Councillor Daniel Bolton, said. Reading this agenda item, the Corporate Peer Challenge said that members' allowances need to properly reflect the responsibilities of those in our roles and to be in line with benchmark data, which obviously they have looked at. They also say that the committee system also gives greater roles and responsibilities. And as Councillor O'Leary has just requested, that the new administration carry on the good work of the previous administration. And I understand that the previous administration actually are reported to be in favour of this agenda item. I therefore accede to Councillor O'Leary's request and support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else indicating? Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. We only saw the agenda when it was published, so I'm not quite sure what Councillor Vilma Wilson's speaking about, but there we are. Madam Chair, I've read the report and I'm afraid that this doesn't sit well with myself. I will be speaking against this proposal to increase the members' allowance before us. Let's be clear, the headline says a 2.5 rise to the basic allowance, supposedly in line with the staff pay awards. But the real story is the sharp increase in the SRAs, the special responsibility allowances. The total cost of those SRAs proposed is more than double, from £67,016 to £151,624, which is an increase of over 125%. At a time when residents are struggling with the cost of living, services are being cut or stretched to breaking point, it's tone deaf to be awarding ourselves such a dramatic increase, especially when more than £84,000 of this rise is for SRAs alone. And that's before we go to the cap on the, as Councillor Belton's mentioned. The overall cost of the allowances scheme would rise from 293,996 to 384,298, a £90,000 and £302 increase. Even with the cap of one SRA per member, the adjusted cost is 361,172, which still leaves us with a shortfall of 29,000 against the existing budget. As you can see, Chairman, in our budget, we didn't make such a large adjustment for such a huge increase. So that would leave a shortfall of 53,000 per year going forward. And where does the extra money come from? Not new income, not efficiencies, but by cutting our capital contribution and dipping into reserves. In other words, we're being asked to pay ourselves more now by investing less in the long-term future of the district. But beyond numbers, we must not ignore public perception. And I say that as Councillor Wootton himself has previously acknowledged, perception matters. At a time when trust in local government is fragile, when residents are questioning how their money is spent, this decision risks sending entirely the wrong message. It looks self-serving, it looks indulgent, and it will be rightly questioned. I accept that public service does deserve fair remuneration, but this isn't fair, and it isn't proportionate. This is a top-up for those already receiving additional payments at the expense of public confidence and sound financial management. We are not elected to prioritise ourselves. We are elected to represent the people. I urge members to reject this proposal, or at the very least to defer it and send it back for reconsideration in the context of a full budget review. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I also am speaking against the proposal. I won't repeat anything that Councillor Newport has said. I would just like to say that I think when I'm reading through it, I think there are some good things in this report, but I think there's some bad things as well. I think that there is confusion there, and I think it needs to be redone. On the second point, I think that this is quite bad of this council at this point in time when things are so hard for residents, and when we get to the budget, we'll be told about how hard it is for residents, and the Conservatives will remind us that, when just reminding us now that we shouldn't take any more money because of that at this point. The last point I'd like to make is that this council has about 2.5 years to go. It's probably got about 1.5 years of actual work to do before a shadow authority is elected in 2027, and after that, the work that this council can do will be even less then. And probably, given the fact that government may legislate to stop us doing some work, such as investing or selling, that means even then our work will be reduced. So I think it's probably up to us not to increase our allowances at this time, and to let that fall to the new shadow authority when that's formed, and that can start afresh then.
Any other members indicating? I'll just touch on this item. When the allowances were reviewed before, there was only two councillors who voted against the increase, Councillor Williams and myself. But what I did do is I put forward another proposal, which I'd circulated before the meeting for members to look at. I won't be supporting an increase, as I didn't support an increase before. Thank you. So I think we're going to go straight to them. Oh, my apologies. Would you like to sum up, please, Councillor Belton?
Thank you. It's never easy, and there's never a good time to award extra income or extra allowances. But it's always been the position of this council, both the previous administration and the one subsequent to that, that you take the responsibility seriously, and you take the recommendations of the independent panel as you find them. And it's interesting because the recommendations are based on interviews that were held with all of the chairmen of the previous administration and the leader and the deputy leader. They take recommendations based on those conversations. And I was one of the people that was interviewed as well as leader of the opposition at the time. And I know they ask, do you think you need to be paid more? If everybody said no, these recommendations wouldn't come forward. So I find it a little bit of a political grandstand, and I imagine there'll be some social media discourse as a result of it. I imagine there's already a video made. There's also some comments about forthcoming budgets and forthcoming decisions. All ifs and buts. Nobody in this chamber knows what the next budget looks like because we haven't got there yet. So I stand by the reasons I said that we should move forward with the recommendations, and I'm more than happy to explain to my residents and everybody else's residents why I'm putting this proposal forward at this time. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mason, did you want to come back at all?
Chairman, it's quite interesting because I had a quick look at the beginning of the report summary. It says in there that full council at its meeting in February 2014 agreed a new scheme, but recommended a further review of allowances take place within 2 years once the committee system have been operational and embedded. I imagine that is meant to be February 2024. Yes? Do we hope? Well, what I'm really interested to know is if it could have been made in 2 years' time, why wasn't it? If the general feeling is that we shouldn't be awarding increases to the allowances. Maybe Mr. Birkinshaw can assist me in understanding who asked for it. Thank you.
I think Councillor Mason you were asking me who asked for the further review of this allowances to be done. I believe that was full council back in February 2024.
Correct, Chairman. That is what I'm asking of you, Mr. Birkinshaw, through the chair, because it needn't have been undertaken immediately. So why wasn't it left for 2 years? And I'd like to know who asked for it to be undertaken this year. Thank you.
Are you able to? No, I'm afraid the officer can't advise on that. I'm sorry, Councillor Cross. We've just had the summing up. So we're now going to go to the vote. The recommendation is that the Council considers the findings and recommendations of the Independent Remuneration Panel as set out in Appendix A, and whether to make any amendments to the Council's scheme of allowances for members. Have you got the support for that vote? Thank you, members. If you'd like to sit down. Okay, members, it's going to be exactly the same process. The officers will ask you for or against. Thank you.
So this is obviously with regards to the proposal by Councillor Belton to accept the Independent Remunerations Panel's recommendations. Councillor McPherson?
Against.
Councillor Wotton? For. Councillor Belton?
For.
Councillor Booth?
For.
Councillor Brewer?
Against.
Councillor Capon? Councillor Carter?
For.
Councillor Constable?
For.
Councillor Cripps?
Against.
Councillor Cross?
Against.
Councillor FD?
For.
Councillor Eaves?
For.
Councillor Hoy?
Against.
Councillor Knight?
Against.
Councillor Lambourne?
Against.
Councillor Linden?
Against.
Councillor Marriott?
For.
Councillor E. Mason? Councillor J. Mason? Councillor Milne?
For.
Councillor Myers?
For.
Councillor J. Newport?
Against.
Councillor L. Newport?
Against.
Councillor O'Leary?
Against.
Councillor P. Shaw?
For.
Councillor L. Shaw?
For.
Councillor Squires Coleman?
For.
Councillor Stanley?
Against.
Councillor Steptoe?
For.
Councillor Sutton?
Against.
Councillor Ward?
For.
Councillor Webb?
For.
Councillor Williams?
For.
Councillor S. Wilson?
Against.
Councillor I. Wilson? Councillor V. Wilson? 22, 4, 14 against, that's carried.
Thank you. That's 22 for and 14 against, so that is carried. Thank you, members. Members, moving swiftly on to item 10, appointments to outside bodies and joint committees. The report begins on page 21, the supplementary agenda. The report was only published yesterday, but I consider that it is an urgent item due to the need to make new appointments at the earliest opportunity. Could I invite the leader to move the recommendations on this?
Thank you. I'm happy to move recommendations 1 and 2. I would just like to add, it was brought to our attention, I think yesterday, that Crouch Valley Coastal Community has a second space on it. I did go out to all members to see if anybody would like that space. Councillor Angelina Marriott has put herself forward in the event nobody else would like it. And I'm just like to say thank you to all members for engaging in this process so that we could get to a point where everybody got the positions largely that they would like and that we carry forward some continuity and some expertise in certain areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belton. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. With that addition, that amendment, I'm happy to second the proposal put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. This item is now open to debate. If anybody would like to raise their hand on speaking on this item, otherwise we will go straight to the vote. Councillor Hoy.
So just one query which I've raised a number of times, and I think Councillor Belton knows I've raised this as well. I was a member of the Crouch Valley Coastal Community team, as it's called, last year and the previous year. There was a review of the work it did last year, carried out by the strategic director, and as my understanding is, that will report to the Economic Development, Regeneration and Tourism Committee now rather than the Environment Committee. Can that just be, it doesn't have to be answered now, but can that be taken forward to make sure that happens? Thank you.
Our officer is nodding, so you can take that as a yes. Thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed that there's only 2 people on the Essex Flood Forum. I would like to join them, if I may, with that committee, please.
No, there's only...
We'll just see how many spaces there are there, Councillor Stanley.
2 in the field, I think. Yeah, 2 in the field.
Apologies, there are 2 spaces and those 2 spaces are full. So, members, anybody else indicating to speak? Thank you. So if we can go to the recommendations on page 21 of the supplementary agenda. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
So we've got 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, I think.
Thank you, members. Those against?
Any abstentions?
And any abstentions, please?
31 for, 5 abstentions.
So that's 31 for, 5 abstention. That is carried. Thank you. Item 11, the annual report 2024-25. The report begins on page 95 of the agenda. I invite the Deputy Chief Executive to introduce this report.
Just a couple of comments, Chairman. A lot of work was undertaken to develop the Council's strategic planning framework. So there's a review of the corporate plan, and members will be aware there was a joint consultation alongside the budget in order that priorities were aligned with the resources, and the adoption and alongside the budget at the February meeting, and an alignment of committees with the corporate plan. So the Council has made some good strides in terms of alignment of its strategic planning framework. There is a proposed reporting into policy committees over the next municipal year of performance, and the annual report is a key element, I think, of the strategic planning arrangements. As it sets out in the report, this isn't the only annual report, the only way in which Council seeks its assurance, but it does seek to provide an overview of the performance against the corporate plan. Again, this was for the last municipal year and does straddle the administrations, but presented here for members to receive. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Belton, can I invite you to move the report and the recommendations?
Thank you, Chairman. Just first, to double check, do we need to extend the meeting or are we still okay? I just know Councillor Linden had to leave.
We are only at 21:33.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'm pleased to move R1 on page 95. This report reflects the work of the previous administration, and I think it's only right that they speak to some of their successes in the report, so I won't steal any thunder. What I will say is that despite our occasional differences, I think we can all agree there were a number of positive outcomes for the district last year, which we intend to build on whilst also pursuing other priorities. What we have also asked is that the tables that are presented throughout the report come to committee throughout this year so that we don't find ourselves in a position that after the full year, we realise that we've missed some of our KPIs. So we'd like to be able to challenge them as we go through. And to that end, I encourage all chairs and members to challenge and engage to ensure that we have the best chance of delivering the corporate plan in 25-26 for the good of our residents and the legacy of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Mason.
Thank you, Chairman. I concur completely with the need to have management information on a regular basis to allow council to know how it's doing as it goes through the year. It's not for me to speak on behalf of the previous administration. I'm sure that they will be lining up to wish to speak to their own annual report, and so therefore I won't be speaking again. I'll leave it to them. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll keep it really brief because I think otherwise we're just covering off the corporate peer challenge as well. So I'd just like to say, as leader for the majority of that period, I'm proud of what we achieved. And I want to just again place on record my thanks to the committee chairs, members and officers who made that work possible. We brought forward and adopted a bold new corporate plan, aligning our resources with local priorities. And I think we really did deliver against that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. I was interested in this report. It is a summary of what the administration did last year. And I'm aware of the fact that Councillor Belton, when she took over as leader of the council, said that there was obviously a lot of what we did that will continue. I did notice in her opening speech today that the first three things she mentioned were things that were started under the previous administration, which is really good that they are continuing. But I'm just looking at this, and I'm looking at the Get Set Grow Business Growth Programme, Jobs Fair, Reddy Windmill awarded, the Business Awards, which I know Councillor Belton did start before, and she'll return to them in February next year, hopefully. The just goes on and on. I'll just mention a couple more. The things I'm particularly proud of from the committee last year: economic development, regeneration and tourism, which I was the chair of, the new culture and visit economy strategy, and then in April the economic growth strategy, which completed in April 25. And I just wanted to add here that that would not happen without the officers, and I'm really proud of the work that the officers did in my committee and all the other committees, and I really want to thank them yet again, because I know I've done this previously, but just to make it clear, I just really want to thank them to the support they gave me throughout that year and everybody in the administration. That's how we managed to get so much done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy, and it's quite nice to see a few times tonight the thanks that our officers are getting. Anybody else indicating to speak? It's back over to you, Councillor Belton.
Nothing else to add, thank you, Chair.
Members, are you happy to receive the report without a formal vote? Great, thank you, members. The next agenda item, the Treasury Annual Report. As I advised at the start of the meeting, that report's being deferred until the extraordinary meeting that's scheduled for the 16th of September. Item 13, motions on notice. Members, there is one motion on notice this evening, which is on page 141 of the agenda. Motion 1, which is from Councillor Mrs Newport. Councillor Mrs Newport, would you like to bring forward your motion?
Thank you, Chairman. So I didn't actually think we'd get to this point in the agenda, so I haven't really prepared anything much to say. So I'll just go from what's in the package. That Council notes the Ask for Angela scheme that began in 2016, which helps anyone feeling unsafe on a night out to get the support they need, just by saying the code word Angela to staff in bars, restaurants, pubs and clubs to indicate they are feeling vulnerable. Most store staff also know the code. As a licensing authority, Council recognises the important role we play to promote the Ask for Angela scheme and require mandatory staff training to recognise calls for help as conditions to granting licences to premises that serve alcohol. Council resolves to commit to introducing staff training on vulnerability management as advised by the Ask for Angela campaign as a condition of premise licence approvals in Rochford, to instruct that a paper is brought to the next licensing committee meeting to consider amending our licensing policy to include this standard condition, and use our communication channels to raise awareness of the Ask for Angela scheme so local residents know how to discreetly ask for help when feeling unsafe on a night out. And I hope that all members will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs Newport. Councillor Mrs Brewer.
Thank you, Chair. I reserve the right if it's necessary.
Thank you. I'm now going to open this up to debate. Councillor Mr Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. With your permission, may I remain seated? My knees are.
As you've asked, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. I would like to express my full support for the principle behind your motion. As a progressive licensing authority, Rochford already actively promotes and strongly encourages licensed premises and individuals to be familiar with and utilise the Ask Angela initiative to help safeguard our residents. Interestingly, the importance of Ask Angela scheme was highlighted in a recent storyline in the radio programme The Archers, which shows its growing recognition and relevance. It's also vital that customers themselves are made aware of their ability to use Ask Angela so that they can access support when needed. As members will be aware, the 4 licensing objectives under the Licensing Act 2003 are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, the protection of children from harm. These objectives form the foundation of the Council's licensing decisions, including those relating to premises licences and other authorisations. I fully support any action we are legally able to take that helps these objectives are met. However, I do feel the motion as currently presented may put the cart before the horse somewhat. Therefore, I propose that the matter be referred to the Licensing Committee at the earliest opportunity for detailed consideration, where committee members can then take a decision accordingly. In the meantime, I would strongly encourage the continued promotion of the Ask Angela scheme and the active encouragement of staff training in all areas of best practice across our licensed premises. Thank you.
So, Councillor Wilson, are you proposing this goes forward to licensing? It's in the motion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Marriott.
I'd like to second Councillor Williams' proposal.
I don't know, Madam Chairman, just to clarify, the motion does seek to refer it to the Licensing Committee in any event.
So to clarify, the motion is to refer this to the Licensing Committee.
And I think Councillor Williams was expressing his support for that to happen, and he will take that as Chairman of Licensing Committee to that. So I think Councillor Williams was just expressing his support, Chairman, for that.
Fine. Anybody else indicating to speak on this item? Okay. So, all those in... no, sorry, if I can go back to now to Councillor Mrs Newport to sum up, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got nothing further to add.
Councillor Mrs Brewer.
No, thank you, Chair. I believe that's all been said. I do think it's vitally important for public safety, especially with women's safety and what's been going forward. So I hope everybody will get behind this and support it to licensing. Thank you.
Thank you. So we go to the vote. Everybody in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, members. That is unanimous. There's some way to conclude this evening. Can I thank you all members for this evening, and may I remind you all that there is an extraordinary council meeting on Tuesday the 16th of September, and all I have to say is have a lovely summer and we will see you then. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding. For the Chair of the Council, Councillor Joe McPherson, the Vice Chair of the Council, Councillor S. Wotton, and the Deputy Chief Executive, Paul Birkinshaw.